Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let's try to reach 1,000 likes on this video. It may sound challenging, but I believe you can make it possible. Now let's dive in. The movie starts by showing students from two different high schools fighting. One of the students involved in the fight is San, who is known for being really good at fighting. In this particular fight, he easily defeats his opponent with just one hit. The fight was started by a student named Heik, who enjoys provoking troublemakers from different schools to attack San because Heik was upset with San for bullying him and getting on his nerves. Heik then goes on to physically harm Yon, who happens to be San's closest friend. When San hears about this, he decides to get back at Heik for his actions and for daring to harm his best friend Sunin. And Yon have been best friends since they were kids. Even though they go to different high schools now, they're still really close, but they have completely different personalities. In is a tough guy, a bit rebellious, and he doesn't like losing to anyone. On the other hand, Yon is kind-hearted and doesn't like violence at all, despite their differences. They're always together one day when they come home from school. They stumble upon a flyer advertising a free martial arts tournament. The winners of the tournament will win a lot of money as a prize and is interested in joining. But Yon thinks it's a scam and tells us not to get involved while they're on their way. San sees Heik walking with a girl without thinking. San approaches Heik to get back at him for hurting his best friend Soden, punches Heik in the face so hard that the lollipop he was holding shatters, and there's blood spitting out because Sing had punched. Heik gets really angry and wants to get back at Sunin. He decides to hire some tough guys to attack Sunin. The story then shifts to Sin and Yon having a meal together. Even though they are very close friends, their parents also consider them like their own children. Because they are neighbours, one day Yon receives a message from his girlfriend asking him to go on a date. Gets jealous and annoyed because he feels like Yon cares more about his girlfriend than him. They argue for a bit, and this makes San angry, so he leaves Yon while on his date with his girlfriend. Yon starts feeling guilty about disappointing his best friend San. He decides to end his date quickly and wants to meet San at their usual hangout spot. Meanwhile, San is sitting alone in the park and ignores Yon's calls. Before long, Heik appears and challenges to a fight at a different location. What us doesn't know is that Heik has hired two tough guys, Yep and Big Boy, to beat him up after Essen defeated Heik's henchmen. Yep and Big Boy arrived. However, Yusep decided to fight San on his own, and a fierce battle ensued. The fight ended in a draw because San was tough enough to handle someone like Wipety when Yusep was in trouble. Big Boy came to his aid together. They beat San until he couldn't defend himself anymore. Meanwhile, Yon had reached the park but couldn't find Essen anywhere. He searched around until they stumbled upon an abandoned building. There Yon saw his best friend being badly beaten by Big Boy. However, he felt too scared to do anything to help. San not only was sung in being attacked by thugs, but Heik was also taking revenge by beating him up. Yon could only cry in frustration, blaming himself for being weak and afraid, unable to save his best friend, even when San called for help. Yon purposefully didn't answer the phone because he was disappointed in himself since the fight. San and Yon's friendship has become strained. They hardly spend time together and don't talk anymore. Yon even goes on out of his way to avoid San. He doesn't answer. San's calls, avoids meeting him, and doesn't even chat with him anymore. San is confused and hurt by Yon's sudden change in behaviour. Eventually they confront each other, and Yon suggests that their friendship is over. He hints at some proof he plans to show Songin someday. A few days later, Yon goes to a fighter club whose address he found on the flyer, and challenges a professional fighter. There the club owner Kim Bang explains the fight's rules to Yon. If Yon wins, he'll earn a reward, but if he loses, he'll lose all the money he bet. Because this fight involves betting, Yon accepts all the conditions and decides to follow the rules. As he begins his first fight, Yon was really scared. Because he had never fought before when his opponent attacked. He could only dodge and felt like giving up, but then he remembered how Sonan was beaten by Heik and his thugs. Not long ago, this gave him the strength to get back up and fight with all his might. It didn't take long for Yon to turn things around, knock out his opponent and win his first fight after the fight. Kim Bwang gave Yon his prize money and congratulated him on his victory. Yon explained that he had come to Kim Bong's club to improve his fighting skills and protect his best friend, touched by Yon's story. Kim Bong decided to help him. He offered to become Yon's manager and arrange fights with professional fighters. In return, Kim Bong would take a commission fee of 30% as they had agreed before. Over time, Yon keeps getting better at fighting by taking on the opponents that Kim Bong chooses for him. He not only studies how his opponents fight during battles, but also watches videos of his own fights afterward. This helps him improve his skills day by day. Meanwhile, Suwon is growing more frustrated as he's ignored by his best friend. He's angry and blames. He seeks for ruining his friendship with Yon. Sumin takes out his anger on his associates, however. Heik, because of San's actions, goes to Yon to find out where San is, even though Yon has become skilled at fighting. He tries to keep it a secret from his schoolmates and acts normal since he doesn't have information about Sonan. Heik leaves Yon alone. On another note, San catches a girl named Yan Chong, trying to put a love letter in his bag when San confronts her. Yan Chong claims it's from a teacher who asked her to give it to him. This encounter leads to Sonin and Yan Chong becoming close friends, and they feel comfortable around each other. Meanwhile, Yon is still determined to challenge strong fighters and test his skills. Kembong discovers an undefeated fighter who agrees to face Yon with a significant bet placed on the line. Despite the odds, Kim Bwang believes in Yon's potential and bets on his victory. When they arrive at the fighting arena, Yon's opponent seems to underestimate him because physically and in appearance, Yon doesn't appear very convincing. Especially in the early minutes of the fight, Yon is overwhelmed by the opponent's incredible abilities and continuous attacks. Kembang wanted to stop the fight because he couldn't bear to see Yon continuously getting attacked, but surprisingly Yon found an opening in his opponent's defense, used his feet to fight back, and turned the tables. Eventually he managed to defeat the previously undefeated fighter. Kim Bung was really impressed by Yon's strength and determination, and he was happy to earn a substantial commission. Kim Bong suggested that Yon take a break and enjoy the hard-earned money, but Yon declined. Instead, he asked Kim Bong to arrange a group fight, and Kim Bong agreed to be Yon's partner in Summary S, and Yan Chong's relationship was getting closer one day. As they were about to go to the movies, S received a call from Yon, who wanted to meet up. S was thrilled that his best friend finally wanted to see him, and cancelled the movie plan with Yan Cham. However, the meeting didn't go as Suan expected. Yon was still distant and refused San's offer to eat together. Yon simply mentioned that he wanted to prove something to Sin someday. Esin felt annoyed and believed that Yon had truly changed. In believes that Yon is intentionally avoiding him because he lost a fight against Heik, and the thugs he seek hired Esin thinks Yon might be embarrassed to have a friend like him who seems weak and useless. Due to this misunderstanding, San decides to run away and seek revenge on Heik. He hopes that by doing so he can prove himself to Yon, and they can become friends again. On the other hand, Yon and Kim Bong continue to participate in fights together. Kim Bong has become Yon's partner in group fights at first. The other fighters doubted Kim Bong's abilities, but he turned out to be quite skilled, and they won several fights, earning double the commission. Meanwhile, Isep approaches Heik and asks to borrow money from him. However, Heik refuses, stating that he has no income since he's still a student. I left, and suddenly San appeared with one of his companions. San didn't hesitate and attacked Heik, letting out all his frustration for ruining his friendship with Yon. Because of this attack, he SE called Yusep and offered him money if he agreed to fight San on his behalf. The next day at school, Heik wanted to take out his frustration by confronting Yon. However, one of his friends informed him that Suan was no longer in contact with Yon, so Heik decided to find Esin's current close friend, who happened to be Yan Chong. When Es learned that Heik had harmed Yan Chong, he became furious and immediately arranged a date and place to have another fight with Heik. The day of the meeting came as usual. Heik brought along his friends and the hired thugs to fight San. Surprisingly, San didn't come to fight. Instead, he wanted to apologize to Heik and begged him to stop the feud and threats against his loved one's S, and endured the punches from Heik's friends and seemed helpless. Then he put a lollipop in San's mouth and hit him in the face until the candy shattered, just like San had done to him earlier. Not long after, Yon arrived at the scene, wearing a mask. Initially Heik and his friends underestimated Yon. However, Yon quickly defeated them all after beating Heik and his friends. Yon faced with September. Thanks to the street fights he had been practicing with Kim Bong, Yon easily handled Yep's attacks and took him down. When Yusep was in trouble, Big Boy stepped in to help Yon. Big Boy had a fierce battle, and they were evenly matched. Kim Bong stepped in to help Yon face Yusep again. While Kim Bong took on Big Boy Kim, Bong could hold his own against Big Boy because he was experienced in street fighting. However, Yon started to struggle against Wipter when Kim Bong attempted to assist Yon against Yusep. It weakened his defense, allowing Big Boy to seize the opportunity to knock Kim Bong down and break his arm. Big Boy then defeated Yon, exhausted and unable to fight back. Yon gave up seeing his best friend being beaten and tried to get up and save Yon and asked Big Boy to stop hurting his best friend. I began to cry and apologized to San for avoiding him. San finally understood that Yon had been staying away because he wanted to become stronger by training in the fight club. so he could protect and help San. This was why Yon had risked his life to become stronger after this incident. Yon and Sun reconciled and became friends again. They promised to support and take care of each other, remaining lifelong friends. So the moral of the story is never break a lollipop in someone's mouth, where you might end up in a dramatic street brawl and discover the true meaning of friendship.